This is a story called The Time Game, Part 3, by Accomplished Oil 611, under the subreddit HFY. Someone help me make this make sense? One of my twins walked up and helped me to my feet. Okay, you were hiking, you saw a door, so you jumped into it, because you're an idiot. Makes sense so far? Another chimed in. You then got pushed through time about 300 million years ago, where you participated in a game of sport. You probably had to find your way out of an enormous cave before it filled with water or burning oil. A third spoke up. Or perhaps you had to climb a ravine that was filled with man-eating insects. Nope, I rode a T-Rex. Yeah, we don't care, interrupted the first. We all had to do so... Wait, did you say you rode a T-Rex? Yep, I said slowly, really popping that P sound at the end. I actually had tears in my eyes now. I didn't think I'd be able to tell anyone. I wasn't sure if telling 6 copies of myself counted, but it made me so damn happy. But Tim just can't be happy. So it was then that we, were interrupted by a hologram of... me. Shit, am I the bad guy in my own story? You were abandoned and now you're lost in time. Each of you missed your next door, but each of you still lived. This is unusual to say the least. It makes you survivors amongst a legion who tried and failed. So we won? Those that win still lose. What they bring back is sour. It causes conspiracy, sows chaos, and degrades your reality. The time game isn't just for fun. Its design is to choose someone special. A collective thread amongst your many planes of existence. The game does not choose those brought together to mend your broken consciousness. Instead, it looks for the thread that connects them. In your timeline, you are that thread. The game is a filter. It cuts the thread for all but the most persistent. But for those destined by fate to win, a break is not enough. So, you are reinserted into your society, but a prize is given. A poison pill, giving you everything you desire. Satiated, you go blind, unable or unwilling to connect the threads to your collective awakening. No, you did not win. And you do not go back. In your reality, there is nothing to go back to. Okay, that was a lot to take in. So then what? Who the hell are you, and what do you want with us? Don't you see? Fate is fighting back. You are its weapon. Each of you will be placed in a timeline. Each of you will be given a task. Together you must complete the tasks to create the connection that unleashes your true self. Yep, still don't get it. What are you going on about? You are but the greatest of gods, yet you were tricked, and your collective conscience was shattered and imprisoned across the 1,000 universes. Your mind was shattered by your jailer and kept broken by the game. I am here to help you, but only you can free yourself. Fate demands it. Cool, so no prize. And now I can't go home and brag that I rode a T-Rex. Okay, what's the task? Let's get this done. My answer came a moment later in the form of a door that opened up under me. There wasn't a lot of time to protest as I fell in. You are first amongst equals. Now, I'm not the kind of guy that generally admits to hearing voices in their head. Of course, on occasion I get that internal monologue that says, dark basements are scary, or that chick is scary, or that chick is a dark basement. My voices have always been pretty curt, and traditionally held a sound I internally recognized as my own. Yet here I was with a voice stuck in my head that pretty clearly wasn't mine. Great, I'm one of those guys now. Okay, voice in my head, speak up. Let's hear what it is you want me to do. Your task is simple, for you will unwind the prize to bring about the prophecy. Oh, good. So, on some other timeline, I get to wreck my own life. Finally, something I'm good at. And the best part is, I get to say that the voices made me do it. When I landed, it was on my feet this time. Now, typically that would be a good thing. However, my foot was pretty badly injured. Irony, I yelled as the pain shot up my leg. First step, hospital. Wait, where the hell am I? Getting my bearings took some time. I did recognize the place. It was Boston. I was in the Boston Garden. I was past wondering how I got from Las Cruces to Boston. In fact, aside from the pain radiating up from my foot, my main concern was that I was largely naked. Thanks, voice inside my head, for not providing any help whatsoever. Okay, so at least I blend in with the other homeless people in town. I was just glad it wasn't the dead of winter. Taking the initiative, I hobbled to Mass General. Hobbling into the emergency room, I approached the desk. The attendant looked at me with a mixture of disgust and indifference. I gave her my name and things got weird. After looking me up and down, the woman stood up and whispered almost imperceptibly for me to follow her. Now, I was having all sorts of weird vibes, but given how bad my foot hurt, I really didn't see a reason not to go with her. Entering the back room, things got awkward. Fortunately, it all happened too fast for me to actually worry about it. In the span of 2 minutes, the attendant screamed at me, flirted with me, cried, and tried to assault me. Thankfully, a nurse stepped between us. Then the nurse punched me in the face. When I woke up, I was in a gown and lying on a bed with an IV drip. My foot was bandaged, and I had an ice pack on my right eye. I took a deep breath. I couldn't honestly recall the last time I felt this good. I went to get up, but an alarm on the bed chimed when I started moving. This immediately brought in both a doctor, who was accompanied by a short, exasperated man in a nice suit. I couldn't help but detect that musty old lawyer stink that smells like a cross between cheap scotch and dirty money. I was never so happy to recognize that scent. I was worried my sense of smell was irreparably damaged, but not so. The smile on my face clearly wasn't something the lawyer was used to, and paused mid-step. I could see him reassessing whatever strategy he'd worked up, probably trying to get me to dismiss the earlier action. I would have too, but I got questions, and I do love to rattle cages. So, here's what I found out. First, apparently this timeline doesn't have cell phones, or the internet, so that certainly didn't set the conversation in the right direction. At that point, I wasn't sure what to ask, so I went on a direct route. Why did the attendant attempt to hit me, and why did the nurse finish the job? The next 10 minutes gave me a very strange feeling of what might have been described as secondhand embarrassment. I thought back to the hologram saying the prize was a poison pill, giving you everything you desire. This didn't sound like apathy, though. It sounded like I'd gone nuts. Let me tell you, when someone uses all the right words to call you a psychotic asshole, it sucks. When that guy's a doctor that just fixed you up, that's some next-level bullshit. Aside from seriously hurt feelings, I really hadn't gotten any answers. Escaping the hospital appeared to be easier than finding out what the hell happened to me. I borrowed generously from the lost and found, after which I headed to the local library. These backwards bunch of savages may not have the internet, but they sure as hell got to have newspapers. I was beginning to think that they didn't have either newspapers or libraries when I finally found salvation. Apparently libraries are called athenaeums now. It was here that I discovered the shocking and unbelievable truth. God, I really am an asshole. Okay, so it hurts me to even think about what I read, but here it is. According to lore, this reality was a little bit technologically stunted compared to other realities. They were behind for some very clear reasons. For one, they did never hardly go to war. Must be nice, but why? Well, it turns out that people are actually a lot nicer when they aren't always working. It turned out that a 3-day work week, yes, out of 7, was all that was required to help folks generally be kind and courteous to one another. Who knew? Okay, so here comes evil me. About 8 years ago, I had a eureka moment. My invention was, you guessed it, the 5-day work week. It spread like wildfire. The result was a steady decline in mental health. This resulted in a rise of violence and hate, culminating in their first ever world war. God, I hope my doppelganger has a goatee. I want to slap it off him so hard. Okay, fast forward. I'd like to say that I quantum leaped my way into my own heart, and that at the end of the day, everyone learned something. In reality, I scraped up change and caught a bus halfway across the country. I spent most of that time trying not to get recognized, because it turns out that most everyone hates me. This is not a surprise. I hate myself here. I don't exactly want to think about why I couldn't be dropped off in this reality a little closer to where I was actually supposed to be, but whatever. I was here. Specifically, I was standing outside the gate where my evil twin resides. I hopped the gate, went inside, and found myself in the pool. That is, face down, dead, and drowned in the pool. Fuck. Okay, so why am I still here? After pulling the dead idiot out of the water and noticing a lack of pulse, I decided to help myself to a beer. God, I hope they have beer in this universe. Turns out they did in fact have beer. It was good too. It was so good that I didn't notice that the version of me that had been lying dead a moment ago was now walking towards me. Well, this is awkward, said my voice from across the room. I dropped the beer. Damn it. Hang on, we're going to need some backstory here. To keep it from getting too confusing, I'm going to call vile me Jasper. Let's back up. So, according to Jasper, his life was in the shitter. I can certainly relate to that. He went into the portal too. Nice to know I'm an idiot in multiple universes. However, he chose health. Making it through the House of Horrors that is the time game, he found himself here, but not now. Instead, he's years in the past. Obviously, this reality is a bit different, so Jasper has a few ideas. He didn't know anything about work weeks, so he just kind of assumed that he was being taken advantage of. Turns out that asserting himself resulted in a tragic cascade of events. In the end, he tried to kill himself. No such luck. Not particularly happy with immortality, Jasper became reclusive. He hid away from the world as it spiraled out of control. Every now and again, he'd try to reach back out. This resulted in a backlash from the public, him getting drunk, and trying to kill himself in some other unusual way. Today it was death by pool party. After a few beers, I decided that Jasper wasn't such a bad guy after all. He just didn't know how to fix all the crap that was going on. I didn't know how to fix it either, but they say 2 heads are better than 1. So the first question was, how do we fix this reality? Putting the genie back in the bottle isn't always easy. So we brainstormed. More technology probably wasn't the answer here. Neither was a show of invincibility. I told Jasper that a little corruption can go a long way, but he'd already tried it. By the end of the day, we were out of both ideas and beer. Exasperated, I told Jasper I have no idea how I'm supposed to unwind the prize. He looked up with hope. What? He asked. I explained that this is what the voice in my head had been saying. At that moment, Jasper had a twinkle in his eye. You're going to kill me, he said, and a tear rolled down his cheek. Careful, I said. It looks like some of the stupid is leaking out. Jasper ran to the next room, and when he came back, he held 2 Arabian swords that he plucked from the wall above his fireplace. This is perfect, he said. I can't kill myself, but you're not from this universe. He threw me one of the swords. As the sword buried itself into the table next to me, I was no longer concerned whether it was capable of doing the job. I'm sorry, I replied, but I came here to ruin your life, not take it. That's why I brought both swords, Jasper said. Then he winked and lunged at me. Sword fighting was not exactly my specialty, which you may have deduced based on my earlier video game references. However, at some point in the distant past, I had mistakenly taken a class on fencing. The limited knowledge I gained from that boiled to the surface of my mind as Jasper came stumbling towards me. I dislodged my sword and parried just in time. Keeping my distance from Jasper was hard in the small room. I ducked under the table as he swung for me. Come on, make it fun, he said. I was clearly dealing with someone dangerous. From under the table, I swung at his legs, but the sword got stuck in the table leg. I really was not good at this. Can't I just push you off a cliff? I asked as I scrambled backwards, leaving my sword embedded in the wood. No, I don't think so, replied Jasper, who jumped on the table to go after me. It was at this moment that I recognized his mistake and kicked the table out from under him. He fell to the floor with a thud. I was ready to pounce when I saw the deed was done. He'd fallen on his sword. Way to take one for the team. A moment later, I felt a rush. It was like his consciousness had melded with mine. Then the floor disappeared, and I fell through the void. Waking up with a headache, I didn't know what to think. I was back in the room with my clones, but there were fewer of them now. Where'd everybody go? I inquired. You're it, said one of them, and gave me a kissy face. It didn't take long to get the story. Essentially, we'd all left at the same time, and we'd all come back at the same time. However, the time we spent in each respective world was not at all the same. I was there for days. One of my clones had gone for decades, and it showed in his face. The ones that didn't make it back had apparently lost their respective sword fights, or whatever fate had in store for them. One thing was clear. We'd all been given the same type of task, to kill our doppelganger. And our adversaries all had similar fates as well. That is, they were all winners of the health prize. I knew where this was going. I knew whom I had to kill next. Someone famous. That was a story called The Time Game, Part 3, by Accomplished Royal 611, under the subreddit HFY. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you next time.